Welcome to Kilimo Faida TV, your number one agricultural TV. I am your host, Mirimbira. In our today's documentary, we focus on comparative analysis of dairy farming in East Africa with Kenya as the baseline. Dairy farming is an essential agricultural practice in East Africa, providing vital food sources, economic opportunities, and employment to millions of people. In East African countries like Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Rwanda have distinct dairy farming systems that vary in terms of productivity, farm size, government support, and overall economic contribution. In this video, we perform a comparative analysis of dairy farming in East Africa using Kenya as the baseline for evaluating key metrics such as milk production, farm size, dairy cow population, and government support. Kenya's dairy farming, the baseline. Kenya has long been regarded as one of the leading dairy farming nations in East Africa. Dairy farming plays a central role in Kenya's agricultural economy, contributing significantly to rural incomes, food security, and the national economy. As of recent estimates, Kenya's dairy industry produces approximately 5 million liters of milk per day, with smallholder farmers accounting for more than 80% of the total milk production. Kenya's dairy industry is characterized by relatively larger farm sizes, with the average dairy farm being around 10 hectares. The country also boasts a strong dairy cow population of 500,000 cows, with a robust infrastructure for dairy processing and distribution. Government support in Kenya's dairy farming sector is generally considered high, with numerous initiatives aimed at improving productivity, animal health, and milk marketing. Key government policies such as subsidized inputs for dairy farmers and efforts to combat diseases like foot and mouth play a critical role in supporting Kenya's dairy industry. Comparative analysis: Kenya versus other East African countries. In this section, we compare Kenya's dairy farming metrics to those of neighboring East African countries, that is Uganda, Tanzania, Ethiopia, and Rwanda, based on key parameters, which are milk production, farm size, dairy cow population, and government support. Milk production. Kenya leads East Africa in terms of milk production, contributing significantly to regional milk supply. The country produces around 5 million liters per day, making it one of the largest producers in the region. Uganda dairy sector lags behind Kenya in milk production. The country produces approximately 4.5 million liters of milk per day. While Uganda has a growing dairy sector, milk production is still considerably lower than Kenya's, owing to the small-scale farmers and lower productivity. Tanzania has slightly higher milk production than Uganda, with an output of about 6 million liters per day. However, Tanzania's dairy industry faces challenges related to poor infrastructure and limited access to veterinary services, which impact overall productivity. Ethiopia's dairy sector is smaller compared to Kenya's, with total milk production hovering around 4 million liters per day. Despite its vast agricultural landscape, Ethiopia's dairy industry struggles due to inadequate supply chains, limited dairy farming knowledge, and poor animal health management. Rwanda Rwanda has one of the smallest dairy industries in East Africa, with 3 million liters of milk produced daily. The country's dairy sector faces numerous challenges, including limited farm sizes, lack of modern farming equipment, and inadequate veterinary services. Farm size. The size of dairy farms is an important factor in determining the efficiency and sustainability of dairy production. Larger farms tend to be more productive due to economies of scale, better management practices, and access to resources. Kenya. Kenyan dairy farms tend to be relatively larger, with the average farm being around 10 hectares. Larger farms have better infrastructure, more access to technology, and the ability to employ better farming practices. Uganda. Uganda's dairy farms are generally smaller than those in Kenya, with an average farm size of about 8 hectares. Smaller farms pose a challenge in terms of land use efficiency, milk production, and the ability to scale up operations. Tanzania. Tanzania has more varied farm structure. While there are some larger commercial dairy farms, most are still small scale. The average size of dairy farms is around 12 hectares, with larger farms often found in areas with better infrastructure. Ethiopia. In Ethiopia, dairy farms are typically smaller, with an average size of 7 hectares. The small farm size in Ethiopia is linked to land tenure issues, which hinder the ability of farmers to expand operations. Rwanda. Rwanda has some of the smallest dairy farms in the region, with the average size being about 5 hectares. Limited farm use in Rwanda is one of the major constraints to increase dairy production and efficiency. Dairy cow population. The size of the dairy cow population directly influences milk production capacity. More dairy cows means higher production, provided that the management practices and resources are adequate. Kenya. Kenya has a well-established dairy cow population of approximately 500,000 cows. The country benefits from strong dairy cow breeding program, which ensures better genetic qualities and increased milk yield per cow. Uganda. Uganda's dairy cow population is around 450,000 cows. While the population is significant, the average milk yield per cow is lower than in Kenya, primarily due to insufficient access to high-quality breeding services. Tanzania. Tanzania has the largest dairy cow population in East Africa, with around 600,000 cows. However, the country faces challenges with animal health, which affects overall productivity. Ethiopia. Ethiopia's dairy cow population is estimated at 400,000 cows. Despite a large rural population engaged in dairy farming, the lack of efficient farming practices and limited veterinary support hinder the sector's growth. Rwanda. Rwanda has a small dairy cow population compared to other East African countries, with only 300,000 cows. The smaller population limits potential for large-scale milk production and economic growth in the dairy sector. Government support. Government support for dairy farming can have a significant impact on the growth and development of the sector. This includes subsidized for input like feed, veterinary services, and dairy processing equipment. Kenya. Kenya's government is highly supportive of the dairy sector, with numerous initiatives aimed at improving farm productivity, animal health, and milk marketing. Programs like subsidized veterinary services and training for farmers contribute to Kenya's position as a leader in dairy farming in East Africa. Uganda provides moderate support to its farmers. While there are still some initiatives to improve milk production and cattle health, government investment in the dairy sector is not as extensive as in Kenya. Tanzania. Tanzania's government support for dairy farming is relatively low. The country faces challenges with the inadequate infrastructure, and the government initiatives to support the sector has been slow in coming, despite the country's large dairy cow population. Ethiopia. Government support in Ethiopia for dairy farming is limited. The country lacks a cohesive strategy to promote dairy farming at a national level. As a result, many farmers rely on traditional methods with little government intervention. Rwanda. Rwanda's government support for dairy farming is moderate, but still insufficient to drive large-scale improvements in the sector. Where there are some support programs, the dairy industry remains undeveloped. Kenya's dairy farming industry remains a regional leader in East Africa, driven by higher milk production, large farm sizes, a significant dairy cow population, and robust government support. However, Other countries like Tanzania, Uganda, and Ethiopia are also making strides with notable progress in milk production and the expansion of their dairy sectors. Rwanda, while still lagging behind, has opportunities to grow through targeted investments in infrastructure, farmer education, and government policies. We hope this video was helpful and we look forward to learning more from us. Remember to invest in dairy farming, which is currently the fastest growing agricultural subsector. Remember, ukulima ni faida.